Hello guys, I apologize for the last video. My battery went dead on my camera, so obviously it cut me off. Kind of at a cliffhanging moment too there, so I was almost done with the video, but and it was late by the time it uploaded. It was like a 3 gig file, so it just took a while for it to upload it. So I figured I would just finish it up today. So anyway, I'm glad I actually kind of waited because it gave me a minute to kind of go back and look at the video, and I just want to clarify a couple of things first. The first thing is that I think I refer to these, I just refer to these as just rail connectors in the last video, and these actually need to be insulated rail connectors, and there's a huge difference there. Obviously, the plastic insulated rail connectors will not allow conductivity between the turnout rail and what we're calling the branch line here, so it isolates block 2. They're not just regular rail joiners. So let's clear that up. The other thing I wanted to talk about real quick, clear up, was the fact that these are actually called terminals. After I watched the video, I know they're called terminals, and after watching the video I kept on just referring to them as screws. So just in order to keep there from being any confusion, I'll just refer to these as what they really are, which is terminals. So, and the other thing I did is I noticed that my little switch here got cut off on the last sheet. So as I was trying to draw the connections for my terminal strips, you weren't able to see that. So I went ahead and just kind of sketched this up again real quick, cleaned it up a little bit, and as you noticed here on my terminal strips, I went ahead and drew in these slots here. And I wanted to, the way I had previously drawn it was a little ambiguous in the way I showed how it was connected and how the power lead coming out was and everything. And it was a little bit, it could have been a little bit confusing for somebody who's never done this before. So just real quickly, the power lead that comes out, say the power lead that comes out from cab 1, the positive, it'll get connected to this first slot here. So it'll actually be connected. It'll be wired with this, see this spade connector here? It'll be wired with that and screwed in place. And these jumpers here, they just allow, the electricity to be furnished to each one of these, slots, if you will. So that way you can go from, one power lead coming in to 12 out. And that's why these things are so useful when it comes to wiring up block selectors, because you're going to have multiple switches. As I said, in the case of the Alvaville Railroad for phase 1, I have 15 blocks. So, I at least need 15 switches, which means I need 15, power leads, different power leads coming into each switch for each cab. So, yeah, that would be the power lead coming out of cab 1 for the green terminal strip. And then for cab 2, it would be coming in something like this, into that first slot there. And the same thing for our, I think I had it shown as, yeah, I did. I had like a suitcase connector shown in here to join these two, to go from, these two negative wires here into one. And that'll come in and go in to this first slot here, where I've got this O-ring connector here. And so that's, hopefully that'll, if you've never done this and you looked at that and you just saw me just draw a line straight over to the side, you're like, well, that don't really explain anything. Hopefully that'll clear it up for you. So if you remember from the last video, I guess it's video 10, part 2A, I think it was. We talked about how, this switch here is just a way to for the pole to establish 2 different circuits. And so that's exactly what we have in this case here. We have our terminals here on the back of the switch, and we have two power leads coming into it and one power lead going out, right? So so let's take a terminal strip from cab 1. Let's just say we're going to wire it here, okay, which would be, now again, remember these are double pole double throws, and I have a single pole double throw switch on here, so it'd really be like that. So that arrow I just drew there would be connecting to this terminal here. Okay, now for the terminal strip for cab 2, it's going to connect to this one, this terminal down here, okay? And then the middle terminal here, remember it's our line out, right? That's what's going to connect to the track, okay? And from our negative terminal strip, we have all these different slots here now, so we can connect the negative wire to what would be the common rail for each block. So since, as we stated in the last video, we're wiring up block 1 here, or the main line, we would have our line coming out of that strip and connecting to the common rail there. So with that wiring diagram, I could either use cab 1 or cab 2 for block 1. Okay, I can switch back and forth between them if I wanted to. Alright, so like I said in the last video, however many blocks you have corresponds to the number of switches you're going to have. So since we've got one switch drawn in here, this switch corresponds to block 1. We just repeat the process for block 2. So if we have a switch number 2 up here, and it is a single pole double throw, just like that. Well, it's the exact same thing, except this time we're going to come out of slot 2. Okay, so we might come up and wire it. I'm going to start getting messy here with all these lines. We might wire it to that terminal of the switch. Same thing for coming out of the terminal strip for cab 2. It's going to come out, go to this terminal. Okay, and then the line out, just like that. And then out of slot 2, out of our negative terminal strip, it's going to run up here, and it's going to connect to the common rail for block 2. So now we can run, we can switch back and forth between blocks and cabs. So, if I want to run, cab 1 on block 1, well, I flick the toggle switch that, allows that circuit to be established. So if you think of this, if we just flip this over, took it like this and flipped it over like this, and it's going to be in the on position. By the way, I think in the last video as well, I think I just said on, off, and I didn't really finish what I was saying. These are on, off, on switches. So you might want to keep that in mind as when you're looking or shopping. It's an on, off, on switch. And if you find an on, off, on switch, you can almost guarantee that it's going to be a double throw switch, which is what you need. So, so yeah, if we flip this switch over, we wanted to select, the power cab 1 to power block 1. Well, then we would just, flick our switch, in the up position. Again, the middle position, both gates are open, right? Remember that from the last video? So block 1 is getting no power at that point. If we wanted to select cab 2 to power block 1, we just flick the switch down, right? Because here's our terminal strip, here's our power lead coming into the switch. This gate's going to be closed right here, and it's going to allow the power. Let me just run it all the way back here, look. All the way back. And in a sense, that's what you're doing. That's what you're trying to accomplish right there. So I hope this was helpful. In the next video we're going to talk about reversing the polarity to change the directions of your locomotives by using these slide switches. So even though this is a functional design here, and it can be used, and it can be used well, in my case, with my auto pulse power controller here, I have the ability to switch direction for each cab, which would work if I'm only running 2 locomotives at the same time. But if I was running, say I was running cab 2 was powering block 2, and cab 2 was powering, I don't know, block 15, and let's say engine B is, locomotive B is running this way, and I don't know, locomotive C is running, to my right. They're going to run at the same velocity or the same speed. There's really no way to control that if you're coming off the same cab. But if you drop one of these in line, you can make them run in different directions. So without affecting the other one. So again, block 15 is going to have its own switch, right? And it's also going to have its own slide switch here, so I can reverse the direction of locomotive C without affecting the direction of, locomotive B. So that might seem a little confusing, just me explaining it, but in the next video, I'll explain how to wire these up, and then that should be all you need in order to be able to come up with your own design and start designing your own control panel. So I hope this video was helpful, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks, guys.